Hi everyone, welcome back to the Know Your Worth podcast series. This is the host, creator, and founder, Tara Mason, and we are at season 1, episode 5. And in this episode, I'll be telling you guys about the signs that you may know your worth. And of course, all these signs may not limited to these 5, but just apply it in any way that you can, which is why you are probably drawn to this episode, but you have to stay tuned for the 5 signs. So here they go. Starting with the first sign. You know when and how to say no without any feelings of guilt or regret. So what I mean by this is that whenever you say no, that's basically establishing a boundary. You're setting a firm, strong boundary with what you will allow, what you don't want to do, what you can't do, and what you're not available to do at the certain time and moment, whether this is with attending an event or hanging out with a person, place, or thing. I don't know. But let's just say you're basically just around your friends and you're so used to saying yes all the time and being available to them. But it comes to a certain point where you actually aren't able to do anything. And you have to say no. And you have no choice left but to reject that thing or reject that request or whatever that person is asking you. So, of course, if you're not used to saying no, you may be more hesitant on doing this because you're afraid of that feeling of like, oh, what is this person going to think about me? You're afraid of what else someone is going to think about you because, again, you're used to sort of that people-pleasing mentality, whether it's your fault or not, whether it's, unintentionally or whatever. So let's say if a friend asks you to hang out at the beach and you know that you can't do it because you have an extremely, let's say, intensive internship to do along with your academic studies. So let's say that person is expecting you to say yes all the time, although you know that you can't, and you explain to them, that person may not have the best reaction, or they will have a more positive and healthy reaction, which is saying, hey, I do understand, and maybe we could do it next time. That's a more positive reaction. Whereas a negative reaction is like, oh, you're selfish, you're self-centered, I never want to hang out with you, stuff like that. That's totally, totally toxic and negative, and you should avoid those people at all times. So, of course, if you're not used to doing this and you're not familiar with setting firm boundaries, which is totally okay, but you can always work on it and improve yourself. So, just understand that it will take some time if you're not used to saying no. So, and you may start to feel guilty and feelings of regret, but you just make sure to question yourself whether it's worth it, and make sure to question yourself about, am I really the selfish one, or is it that they're just not used to you setting up this new boundary and they're so used to, taking advantage of that they're not even aware of it, So just ask those sorts of questions instead of, thinking more so negatively in terms of your ends. Make sure that you're keeping the balance about, what you're doing and what that person isn't respecting, So it's all about setting that general boundary. So leading to sign number 2, that is, you know better than to compare yourself. And I had to put better because, once when you know your worth, you really start to feel a healthy sense of confidence. And in this case, I don't mean overconfidence. I mean extremely healthy confidence. So instead of comparing yourself, let's say I'm going to just throw a societal example out there. So in today's society, a lot of people compare themselves with other people on social media, whether it's a celebrity or whether it's a friend who they hang out with on social media. Some people, like I said, this doesn't necessarily apply to me because I just never I just don't see myself doing that, but I'm just throwing an example out there. Let's say if, again, you're on social media and you see this friend who posts a picture of them at the beach and they're always traveling, but you feel that you're stuck in the summer working and you can't necessarily afford to travel or anything like that. You may start to feel some sense of, jealousy or some sense of like negative, vibrational thoughts or whatever about how that person has it easy and they can always enjoy their life while you're just stuck in the summer working or something like that. Let's just say that sorts. Instead of comparing yourself, how about you do this? Just question whether what can you do to have that sense of balance with traveling and working. Because yes, you can work and travel at the same time, but what can you do maybe to prepare for this at another time? Or what can you do to reach that goal in a more positive sense instead of having these intrusive and negative and obsessive thoughts about what that other person is doing? Just focus more so on yourself and, just stay more positive about yourself, because a lot of people tend to be hard and put a lot of pressure on themselves that's unnecessary. Because you see someone else doing something, you have to go jump into it. That is, that's just toxic with yourself. You're just being extremely toxic with yourself, whether again it's intentional or unintentional, or you're extremely unaware about it. Just understand that everyone has different journeys, everyone has different, paces in life. So for instance, you may not travel during this time in your life because you haven't reached your prime time. The universe hasn't made your destiny like that. Maybe you may travel at a time where a lot of people are working and you're actually having a lot of free time to actually travel and enjoy your life, Not saying that, you should compare yourself in that way, but I'm just saying a lot of people have different journeys. So so just make sure to think of that and keep note of that, because a lot of people tend to forget that. They like, oh, I know this, but you're acting like you don't know this. So just keep reminding yourself whenever you have another thought like that. Everyone has different journeys. I will have my time. It's just not at this moment. And maybe an extra tip is to remove yourself from that social media platform, or remove yourself from that situation where you feel that you have to compare yourself, or you feel jealous of someone or envious. Just make sure to set a peaceful space for you, and to make sure that that person isn't being projected on because you're feeling insecure, whether that's financially or career wise or anything of that sort. Just remember that. And leading to sign number 3, you are not afraid of change. And I feel like this is an extremely important one, because a lot of people tend to say, okay, everyone's life changes as some sort. Everyone could change, but that doesn't mean you're not afraid of it. A lot of people tend to hold themselves back because they're afraid of big changes or little changes, and they're just not used to it. So again, a lot of people, they have to experience change in order to fully grow on all levels. So a lot of people, at least today in society, they like staying in a comfort zone. They like doing what society deems as normal. I'm going to give an example in comparison to me. Me, I'm the total opposite. I'm very unconventional. I don't really necessarily do what society thinks or do what they say is normal. I'm just a very unconventional person. That's just who I am. Again, a lot of people think I'm weird. At this point, I really don't care. But it's just who I am, and I respect that. And I will fully acknowledge that, because I know that I'm uniquely different from what society deems as normal or original or just regular. I'm not a regular basic person. I'm uniquely different and I stand out. That's just who I am. And I had to learn that both the hard way and the easy way, And I did learn my lesson, and I did have to, be respectful towards myself and be more kinder to myself, that I am weird. I am very unconventional, and I'm very proud of it, It's nothing that anyone can, change about it. They can't force me to change, But yeah, and you also understand that you cannot be perfect and stable all the time. That's what a lot of people tend to think, whether they realize they are not, is that perfection involves the inability to change, So a lot of people tend to think that, just because you've had a lot of life-changing moments, such as, for example, let's say, I'm just throwing a huge example out there. Like, let's say if your life was composed of, let's say, having kids and, graduating college and, I don't know, getting your first car and, you know, having a new set of, group of friends, getting a new job, all those types of things. Little, small, episodic moments of like celebrations to, basically, recognize. Let's say if you see another person who didn't have that, but they are so used to a lot of bigger changes. Because anyone, for example, can graduate college. That's just a small part of life. It's not your whole life. And I feel that those who are very stagnant to change, they focus their whole life on school, or they may focus their whole life on, let's say, becoming a doctor, or they may become a lot more fixated on, I don't know, having that romantic relationship of their dreams, building that family of their dreams. Which again, that's them, not to necessarily judge, but it's just, they just may be a bit more resistant to change as, let's say, someone who I am, I love change, whether it's unexpected or expected, but I'm more resilient to experiencing unexpected changes, because when you experience those types of changes, that's the time where it allows for the best types of highest self-growth. Because again, change isn't easy all the time, but a lot of people tend to forget that just because you're experiencing smaller moments in life, that change is very easy, or they'll just snudge something off and be like, change is, man, like, yeah, anyone can deal with change. That's another thing. That's a mentality that is so fixating, because a lot of people tend to think that just because you're dealing with change, that is just a small thing, such as, going to school. That's a change in you, let's say, from you graduating high school into going to college. That's a small change. People tend to address that change as being something, something huge, when in reality, that's just a part of your life, And that's a small mindset that you probably want to drift away from, because people who know their worth tend to think of things not only from a smaller mindset frame, but also from a bigger mindset frame. So instead of saying that, oh yeah, I did this, or I got all A's, or I got, let's say, or I graduated college, it's okay to celebrate your accomplishments. I totally get that. But if that's all your, let's say, all your social media is about, or if that's all you talk about in conversations, that's problematic, and that's probably a red flag, So just remember that and take note of that. And remember to not be afraid to strive for your goals and dreams, because change, that's just where change is always going to be, involved. And that's where change is always going to be required, because anything can happen at any single moment, whether you like it or not. So you're not in control. So yeah. And leading to the fourth sign, that is, you have more positive self-talk to yourself. So the more honest and open you are with yourself, and the more able you are to talk more positively to yourself, that means that you are able to enjoy where you are in life, So again, this may be obvious to some people, but it's easier said than done. So a lot of people may be like, oh yeah, I know this, but you're not acting like it. You may think these things, but something that's happening subconsciously that you may need to work on. So I do recommend this as a tip. Do some subconscious meditations or some subconscious activities on YouTube. I don't know. You just may need some sort of subconscious healing that needs to take place, because a lot of the people, that's the one thing I can't stand about society today. A lot of people like, oh yeah, I knew that, but you're not acting like it. Your actions aren't speaking for itself. It's like you're letting all your words come out, which is very, like I said, small-minded, but you're not thinking about the bigger picture as well, because that just tells me a lot about who you are. You're not able to handle that full responsibility of actually talking positively to yourself, because talking positive to yourself, it's not the easiest thing, especially if you're used to being, whether that's around, like, let's say, a negative environment, such as negative friendships or, I don't know, just negative people, and you're just used to wanting to have that, I don't know, that inkling of optimistic energy and positive energy, where people always talk about their goals. They, motivate each other, they inspire each other, and you inspire them. Like, having a very healthy and reciprocating group of people around you is very important and highly essential to your growth. So you enjoy being wherever you are, and you're not negatively speaking to yourself about anything. So again, a lot of people tend to have that negative voice. So let's say if they tend to make a mistake. Again, this may seem like common sense, but a lot of people may not know common sense, or they may not know these things because they haven't learned it growing up, or they just aren't used to it because, again, they're around such negative affiliated minded people, such as friendships again. So again, the more positive you speak to yourself, whether that's through the forms of affirmations or, talking to yourself in the mirror, or just slightly changing your mindset. So let's say if you're making a mistake in school and you fail all your exams, right? Instead of talking negatively and having that negative voice inside of your mindset about, oh, well, maybe if I wasn't dumb, then I wouldn't have failed. Although it may not directly be that one, I'm just thinking of an example. But it may not be that direct statement, but keep that in mind and frame it into something more positive, such as, well, maybe next time if I study a little more, or maybe, I don't know, put some more effort and investment into studying, or maybe just change the way I study or try a different technique, I may pass that exam. Or I don't know, even if you do feel that it's too late at the time of the semester or something, or throughout your trimester at school, however your school system is, whether you're in college or high school or even middle school, you're listening to this podcast. But just remind yourself that, grades aren't everything, and that doesn't determine who you are. A lot of people do place that intelligence means that you have all A's, whether people realize it or not, So it's okay to, showcase that you're smart through grades, but as the only thing, like, oh, you always have to have straight A's to show that you're smart. That's not necessarily the case. Anyone can be smart in different areas of life. It doesn't necessarily have to only be academic wise, but it can be having street smarts or just being smart in various areas of their life. So just remind yourself to not, place so much negative self-talk into yourself, because that's just, like I said, bringing yourself down. And make sure that you're not being too hard on yourself, because, again, this is easier said than done. And over pressuring yourself means that you just give up easily on yourself. You're not being optimistic with yourself. You're just basically subconsciously and consciously telling yourself that you're not worth it. You're not able to reach your own goals because of this one experience. Oh, because of this one sort of mistake that you've created. Everyone makes mistakes. That's the way to self-growth. That's how success is. If you want big success, you have to make a lot of mistakes. If you want even a small success, you still have to make a whole bunch of mistakes in order to learn something, learn that lesson. And leading to the last sign, which is sign number 5, of you feel like you are in full control of your life. Now, we all know in reality, or if you're sort of into the Bible, or if you're sort of into religious things, or even just a spiritual person, you know that the universe doesn't like it when you're really in control, but it's just something about knowing your worth. In this case, these are two different types of controls, but having that sort of full control over your life, you just feel that at least during this prime time of your whole entire lifetime, you just feel that you are in control. You know what's going on in your life. You know how you feel about something. You know how a relationship is going to play out. That's the type of control of me. I mean healthy control, not that toxic, negative, low vibrational control over your life, where you're just obsessive over, oh, oh, I have to know what's going on. Oh my gosh, I have to know how this is going to turn out. Not that type of thing. I mean, you just feel a lot more clear-minded. You feel more healthier about your control over how the way like certain things are going to turn out. So again, it's not that obsessive type of control, but it's the normal kind. Instead of overdoing it, and you are fully aware that no one is going to have any influence over you. And that's the type of control I mean. You're able to control how you react and respond to certain situations. So instead of, reacting negatively to someone, let's say if they are, I don't know, talking crap about you, you're not going to be that person who's kind of like reacting negatively to it, such as putting a whole show or, I don't know, trying to create some sort of drama over social media or just creating drama in public. You're not going to be that type of person. You're going to respond to it properly, which is a person who knows their worth would just, not even have to explain themselves. That's knowing your worth. Not having the need to explain yourself over a situation unless it's a situation that really deeply requires that you explain something. Not trying to force yourself to understand, force yourself to get other people to understand who you are and vice versa. Because again, someone who knows their worth walks in their worth. So the more that you're able to showcase that you're confident and actually feel confident and radiate on confidence levels, that means the more positive you are to showcase to the whole world, and more people will start to see that. And that's you being in full control. No one has any sort of, actions or words that may influence how you feel about yourself, and it's never ever going to affect how you run your life. So, just remember that. And you are in control of your own decisions, emotions, and how you tend to feel and where you currently are. So, again, with decision making, I feel like this is a good emphasizer because a lot of people tend to allow the influence of others affect their decision making. So let's say if someone is, trying to make a decision on what to post for, let's say if someone is a social media influencer and they use YouTube or TikTok, but they're afraid of posting something because they're afraid of, again, what other people may think. If you want to post that video, go with your first inkling. Who cares if it doesn't get that many likes or comments or subscribers on your account? Who cares? Or if people have something to say about it. You choose the way you respond and react to that situation. Is number one, you can either delete it or delete your whole account. Number two, you could either ignore the comments and just keep going. Or number three, you can just keep going and really not care what anyone thinks. So it's literally all about how you choose to respond and react to something. And I would rather choose to try not to make yourself feel moved by someone else's negativity, because a lot of people tend to forget that the more fixated you are on someone's negative mindset, the more able you are to, bring yourself down, because someone else is basically projecting their own insecurities onto who you are as a person. Whether that's through jealousy or through any sort of just competitive, a competitive energy that they feel against you, or they feel that they have to compare themselves to you. Just remove yourself from that conflict or that sort of situation before it even manifests. Because, again, it's easier said than done, but just ask positive questions to yourself and don't be too hard on yourself. And remember that, don't ever play the victim for any given situation. So that's just giving your power up to people. That's giving your energy and lack of control away. So you're giving your control to other people, and you're basically alerting people, whether that's subconsciously and consciously, but in this case it's more subconsciously, that they're able to take advantage of you, that they could do anything that they want to you because you're playing the victim and you're allowing them to, let's say, do things that they want to, or take responsibility for something that involved the both of you, that's playing the victim. And you're also pointing the finger at someone else. That's playing the victim. So just make sure to never ever play the victim, and make sure that you're taking responsibility for what you've done in a situation, and hopefully that other person does it as well, but it's more so focus on what you're doing, because even if that person doesn't do it, such as, taking responsibility for a situation, just move on, let it go, and just trust me, the universe will give them its karma. That's how I operate. And it may not be the best kind. Sometimes you may actually witness that person's karma, and sometimes the universe will do it behind your back without you even knowing it. And that person may come crawling back, so who cares? And just remind yourself of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed these 5 signs I've given to you guys. Again, these signs are not limited strictly to these 5. Of course, there are other signs that you may not and may actually know your worth. So whether you've heard my previous episode, but of course, it's not limited to these. There may be other signs that you may hear from other people, but these are strictly the 5 signs based on my experiences and the people who I've worked with and basically interacted with. These are the 5 signs that we may not know, that we may actually know our worth. So, and again, I post new episodes every single Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So stay tuned for new episodes starting tomorrow and Thursday. And again, this was